Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to look a bit at polymorphism in actually basic stuff in GObject. So here we have a little program that does a few things. So we can look at the C file for this. So main C. You can see we make a few animals here, and then we use the same function to call different animals, and it creates different things. So let's begin. Whoops. Okay. So let's make sure that everything is clear. Oops. Clear. If we look at cat main.c, we have nothing, and cat anything.c is nothing. And let me just open up the main file in a new text editor somewhere, and see here, new window, and we are going to change document tutorial GObject tutorial. Should have probably prepared this a little bit better. Oh well. And this isn't really that hard, so just bear with me a few seconds while I put this into correct thing. And you can see nothing here is actually filled in, so we can just one thing we're going to copy. It's just the main file here, so we know exactly what we want to do. And I'm going to start out. Oops, that's wrong place. There we go. There. Sorry about that. So when we start out programming, we start with this H file, so we know exactly what we're going to implement and how. So pragma once, it tells us that this file can only be included once. Instead of doing guards and stuff like that, this is much more sane way of doing it, and it works much better. When we declare our animals and stuff like that, we have to there are a few things that we can look at. It's the old style and new style. I'm just going to show you the new style in depth, but I can show you a bit of that later, the old style. I'm going to put all this code in the doobly-doo, a repository that you can all download, or a zip file, I don't know, probably a repository. So let's get started. We're going to include two files. include glib./glib.h. No, just glib.h, and include glib-object.h. Then we are going to... Actually, I'm going to show you the make script. This is what a make script looks like. So you will know exactly what it will be. And yeah. It's just simple that looks for these objects and then just executes those things. Not that complicated. With that there. This is so bugged. So we have to type def a structure called test animal, and test animal class, and then this is just standard GObject code, so it's nothing special to worry about. So let's define test type animal. This is going to be test animal get type, and then G declare drivable type test animal test animal GObject. So this looks absolutely retarded, probably for most people, and should. Okay, let's go through what all these things mean here. So the first thing here is the type, the structure, the instance type that then creates structures up here. We don't actually define the first structure here, but the second structure we do define. Then we have test animal here. Test animal. That is the prefix for the functions that we're going to declare a bit later, and it declares this. No, not this, but it declares a few things. This is the prefix, and this is the class thingy. So this expands into something that looks a bit like. Let me just show you that. This expands into this. So this here expands into this, and this looks a bit. So this is basically this is much easier than it was before. That is the way we used to do it, and those macros you see here, though they are they do a lot of things for you. they check check types and stuff like that. Basically like this actually. I just used padding there because I thought it was a nice thing to do. Anyway, now we need to declare the class structure. So struct test animal class, and this is a GObject class parent class. That is the what we are deriving this from. So the class thingy, the class structure here, you can think of it as the virtual table or something like that in C classes and stuff like that. The V table, virtual class table, function table. So now we declare the functions, the make sound, and with that takes a test animal pointer and void move. That takes a test animal pointer 2. So that is the two virtual functions, and then we gpointer padding. We pad this a bit so we have room for adding more functions later without breaking ABI. The binary format of this. So you can use the same. If you use this in a program, you can update the libraries without having to recompile everything. Then we have test animal pointer, test animal new, and then we have a void test animal make sound, void test animal move. And these have to take a few things. So the first thing here is test animal pointer self. That isn't that complicated. Test animal pointer self, comma g int x and g int y. Oh, I forgot one thing that is important if we're going to use this in other places than C. So decals, there we go, and end decals. If you want to look at what those are, begin decals basically becomes that when you're compiling with C++, and that when you compile with C++, but not when you compile with C. So that's a convenience macro. Yes. Now we have the header file done. Now comes the complicated bit. Just do one thing before we start here. We can just uncomment this. If Okay. That should be good now. And just so we can test that everything works as it should. So we begin by including animal. Oops. Animal.h. And I don't really know what does that. Anyway, and we look at that. We begin with a define test animal, test animal G type object. Okay, this basically defines a few things, like the function that the test animal get type. That is what it declares basically, and the G type get type object here. It's basically this line here. So it's G type object instead of test type animal. It's a bit complicated to understand, but that is the way it works. This just hooks up the class tables and the type tables and stuff like that, so you get a G type out of it. If you want to know what a G type is, you can look at the G type numerical value representing the unique identifier of a registered type. That's it. Now we have almost everything done. No, absolutely not. So first we're going to just make sure that we know where we are. So that is I usually do this so I know where all the code is and what code does what. So I split the code up in different sections. The first section is where I declare the local functions. So test animal test animal real make sound, and that takes a test animal pointer, and then move. Gint x, gint y. So that is the concrete functions that we are going to call when someone makes a animal. This is really a strange way of doing this. There's actually a better way, but I just want to show you how to create a class and then define abstract type. You can use instead of define derivable type. But it's basically the same. So test animal new, and GObject new test type animal and null. The reason we have to put a null there is because it expects a value there. If we so this function here looks in the virtual tables, the definitions of the type that and fetches all the right functions and calls and all of that, so it hooks everything up for you. If we look at the GObject new, we actually see here that it actually expects the property name as a second parameter. Yeah, that's why it's not null there, because we don't have any properties. That's a different lesson. And next thing is we need to add a few stupid functions. No, the first function here is just empty, so test animal init, and test animal pointer self. We will come into what that does another time, but right now we just want to make a simplest thing, so we don't actually use that. And then we have static void and test animal class init, test animal class pointer self. This is where all the fun stuff happens. So we take the GObject class pointer parent class. This is the parent class of the object. So we can't really access all from the class structure here. We can't access the parent's function. So this is how we do that. We don't use that in this particular instance, but it's a great way to check that the type that is put in is the correct type. So we could probably just have a return if fail and stuff like that, but oh well. So and that is initialization of the class. Next up is the functions that call. If we call when we do a call to test animal make sound, how that is handled internally. So that is a void function. So test animal make sound, test animal pointer self, and return if fail. Test is test is animal. So this checks if if it is an of the right type that we are trying to do this on, and if it's the wrong type, it fails and it returns. That's it for that. And next up is the move one. It's basically the same, so we just copy that, and we add two things. So int x, g int y, and move self x, y. That is how the calls are made internally. Now we have to, if we remember up here, we assigned these these to the class, and now we have to declare the real ones. These are the fallback functions, you call them, if you are so inclined. These are the functions that are called if you can't really if the subclasses don't implement these functions, these are the ones that will be called. Whoops, that should be move. Test animal real move, and test animal pointer self g int x, g int y. So here we just because we can't really do anything fancy, so we just do a little print. This is a formatted print, so we can do stuff, but start with the advanced one, so to say. This animal can't move to and we end with a new line, and then okay. So that is basically how you declare a derivative, a type that you can call. So let's go back to here and on make. Undeclared. It's undeclared first function. Okay, this class init. Let's have a look. Oh. That's the way it should be. Sorry about that. And too many arguments to move. Let's have a look. Oh, move takes. There we go. I made a bit of warnings here. And we forgot one thing. The format. X, Y. There we go. Main. This animal can't make any sound. This animal can't move too. Okay. That's interesting and all. But it's not really that interesting. So next up is how we do. Let's start with my favorite animal, so to say, the cat. So let's move over to the cat here. Again, pragma once. We only want to include it once, and we include. Include animal H and yeah. And we begin and end the declarations as usual. Oops. Just noticed that I forgot to do it in my other implementations. So begin declarations and end declarations. So again, we define the type thingy. Define test type cat. Test cat get type, and G declare, instead of derivable type we have final type, and test cat test cat test cat test animal. Again, the type name, the prefix, the namespace, and the object name, and what we derive from. So this is the simplest header file of them all. So test cat new, and that's it. Now go to this one, the C file, and here's the difference. So when we, if you remember from this one, we didn't actually declare the type of the animal structure, the struct animal, test animal there, but here we actually have to do that. So cat.h struct test cat and test animal parent. And now we do G and define type test cat test underline cat test type animal. And again, we do the. I can just copy this over because it's such a drag to just write this. So those functions again, but we're going to this is the implementation of those functions. Test cat. Cat new. So, if you remember from the animal here, we actually declared the animal class here. When we declare final, that is done for us, because they don't expect us to actually declare any new types, any new functions. So, but it doesn't declare our instance class, our instance object, so infrastructure. So we have to do that ourselves. So that's a little bit of. It is strange that it isn't exactly the same or almost the same, but oh well, that's the way it is. So that is something you have to watch out for if you have a final type and you want to declare it as a derivable type. You will have to change that. It's quite a pain in the butt, but oh well. Now then. We have to get the animal class, so this is just basically the same as we did before when we animal get class. Yeah. Test animal cat make. Test cat real make sound. Oops, not make sound, no. Move. And that's basically how it's done, all the way down. There are people who can explain a lot of the magic behind all this much more in depth than I can, but I'll try to make this as useful as possible, I think. If you have any questions, I would recommend going to either the GTK mailing list or ask on the GTK Google Plus community. really good places to ask questions about this. So next order of business, it's to implement these real functions here. So we can just copy these and implement them. So the make sound is just a gprint mu and ru. I have no idea what cats, how you should, the purr. I don't really know how to say that in cat speak, also to make that phonetical. So just mu and we, oops, sorry about that. The cat that should be it for the cat. So let's uncomment the cat here and move this down there. If we compile now, make OK. Let's see here. If you look here, in too few arguments to, oh yes, too few arguments again. And then we have oh, there we go. And now we just have 2 errors. Yes, that is correct. I am an idiot. Animal class. Animal class. Animal class. There we go. And now we got incompatible pointer types, but those could probably be ignored at this point. You could cast them over, but it's really not that. We could actually make the declaration here GObjects instead, and only deal with GObjects or just test animal. But we will not be doing that right now. We'll just ignore those errors. And we can see this animal can't move. Okay. Why is that? Cat new. Look at the cat. It's that incorrect. I will have to... It's actually strange, because it sort of works, so it doesn't. Test cat class init. I think you should complain if I've done anything wrong. This animal can't move. Make real sound. Did I do something wrong in here, perhaps? No. That should work. I am a little bit confused right now, so please bear with me. Is this being called at all? Let's have a look, shall we? So it is being assigned, but the cat can't move. That is strange. Let's go look into here again. Test cat type, test animal. Test cat, test cat. I am a bit confused right now because this is exactly the way I wrote it before. Just copy over my old code, because I don't really understand. Okay. So what's the difference? I am okay. Oh, real. Oh. Is that a problem? No. That is absolutely strange. So this is being called, but why isn't it being called later? Because this isn't being called. Despite I... That shouldn't really be any problem. This animal can't make any sound. Make a sound. Why? Let's see here. I generally can't see the difference. Why does this work, but not the other one? Let's see. So this one. There's absolutely no difference between those two. Animal class. Test animal class. Animal class. Test. Class. Oh, I see what the problem is. Shouldn't be get class here, it should just be class. Yeah, that explains it. Anyway, and now it's just one animal left to implement. And that is the dog. So let's just make this a quick one. Just copy and paste. Again, this isn't that hard. We've seen it before, and we do a little search and replace on cat. We and we dog, cat, oops, cat, and we replace that with dog, and we replace cat with dog, and then we save, and then we same here. Oops, that is the wrong place. Dog. I forgot to copy this. Cat, 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 dog, cat, dog, and cat, dog. There we go. Now we got this is basically the same as you have already seen it once. So the dog says "ow woo" and "va va va va," and the dog randomly runs around and run a bit and random there we go. And that should be it. And as always when we're dealing with GObjects, you have to unreference them, or else we're going to get memory leaks. So D is undeclared. Oh, there we go. Make, and there we go. The animals, the ground animals, the base animals, they don't do anything. Then the cats say stuff, and then the dogs say stuff. Moves about. So that is the first lesson in GObject. I hope it's been helpful for you in your search. It's been interesting doing this video, so setting this up and making sure everything runs before I made it. And yeah, that's 1 hour. So see you next time, people, and have a good one. Bye.